In the tapestry of human interaction, there are threads that bind us and threads that fray. Today we shall examine a particularly troublesome strand, the act of disrespect. It manifests in myriad ways. The interruption that silences your voice, the barbed comment that seeks to diminish your worth, the dismissive gesture that renders your presence inconsequential. Many would counsel patience or advise turning the other cheek. But I say to you, there comes a time when one must stand firm, like an ancient oak against the wind. This discourse is for those who have felt the sting of disrespect and yearn for a path to reclaim their dignity without descending into the mire of retaliation. As we embark on this journey together, I shall share with you wisdom gleaned from years of observation and experience. These are not mere tactics, but rather profound shifts in perception and behavior that will fortify your spirit and command the respect you rightfully deserve. Let us begin this exploration of the human psyche and the delicate balance of interpersonal dynamics. The first teaching: the power of profound silence. In the face of disrespect, our first instinct often betrays us. We feel compelled to respond, to justify, to engage in verbal combat. But consider the serene pond, undisturbed by the pebbles cast upon its surface. It is in stillness that true strength often resides. I speak of the art of the steadfast gaze, a technique as old as time itself, yet often forgotten in our age of constant chatter. When confronted with disrespect, instead of words, offer only your unwavering attention. Fix your eyes upon the transgressor, not with malice or challenge, but with the calm certainty of one who knows their own worth. This act serves multiple purposes. First, it denies the instigator the reaction they seek, much like denying oxygen to a flame. Second, it creates a mirror, forcing them to confront the reflection of their own behavior. And third, it affirms your own inner resolve, reminding you that you need not dance to another's discordant tune. I recall an instance from my own journey many moons ago. In a gathering of minds, there was one who consistently sought to overshadow others, his words a torrent that swept away all other voices. When at last his flood of speech turned upon me, I did not attempt to stem the tide with my own words. Instead, I met his gaze with unwavering equanimity. The seconds stretched, becoming a vast chasm of silence. Gradually, his words faltered and fell away like leaves in autumn. In that moment of quietude, a transformation occurred, not just in him as he grew aware of his own overreach, but in the very atmosphere of the room. Power shifted, not through force, but through the absence of engagement with chaos. This technique, while simple in execution, requires great inner strength. It asks you to stand firm in your own truth, to trust in the power of your presence rather than your words. It is a reminder that respect is not always earned through action, but sometimes through graceful inaction. As you practice this art of profound silence, you may find it challenges you as much as it challenges others. It requires patience, self-control, and a deep well of inner peace. But with each application, you will find your resolve strengthened, your presence more commanding. Remember, in the face of disrespect, your silence can speak volumes. It says, "I am unmoved by your attempt to unsettle me. I stand secure in my own worth." This unspoken message often resonates far longer and more deeply than any verbal retort. As we move forward in our exploration, let us turn our attention to another profound truth in the art of commanding respect. This next teaching builds upon the foundation of inner strength we have just discussed, expanding our understanding of the power that lies in stillness. The second teaching: the eloquence of silence. In the wisdom literature of old, we find a profound truth that echoes through the ages. The book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 28 tells us, "Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise." When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. These words, penned millennia ago, speak to a power that many in our clamorous age have forgotten: the power of silence. In the grand tapestry of human interaction, there exists this thread, so potent, so profound, that its very presence can alter the fabric of our relationships. This thread, my dear listeners, is the purposeful absence of speech, the strategic embrace of stillness. Consider, if you will, the tranquil surface of a deep mountain lake. Its stillness speaks volumes, conveying more majesty and power than the babbling of 1,000 brooks. So too can your silence resound with greater force than a multitude of words. When confronted with disrespect, our instinct often urges us to respond, to justify, to engage in verbal combat. But I put forth to you a radical notion: embrace silence as your answer. This is not the silence of submission or defeat, but rather the silence of strength, of choice, of profound self-possession. You see, those who seek to diminish others through disrespect are much like children throwing pebbles into a pond, eagerly anticipating the ripples their actions will create. They crave reaction, yearn for engagement, hunger for the validation that comes from knowing they've affected you. But what happens when the pebble meets not water, but the unyielding surface of ice? It simply lies there, impotent, its intended impact nullified. This, my friends, is the power of strategic silence. By refusing to engage, you deny the instigator the very thing they seek. You keep control of the conversation not through words, but through their absence. It is a quiet, subtle reminder that they are not worthy of your energy or attention. Let me share with you a tale from my own journey. Years ago, I encountered an individual who delighted in veiled insults, cloaking barbs in the guise of jest. On one particular occasion, he leveled a particularly pointed comment about my work, clearly intended to provoke. In my younger days, I might have rushed to defend myself or returned fire with my own cutting remark. But on this day, I chose a different path. The concern I had was something very different now. I simply regarded him, one eyebrow slightly raised, and allowed his words to hang in the air unanswered. The seconds stretched into an eternity of awkward silence. I watched as discomfort blossomed on his face as he grappled with the unexpected void his words had fallen into. He mumbled something inconsequential and hastily took his leave. From that day forward, he never again attempted such disrespect in my presence. This, dear listeners, is the alchemy of silence. It transforms provocations into moments of self-reflection for the instigator. It starves disrespect of the oxygen it needs to flourish. But the true magic of this approach lies not in its effect on others, but in its impact on ourselves. When we choose silence in the face of disrespect, we are making a profound statement. We are declaring, "I value my inner peace more than your opinion of me." We are refusing to allow others to dictate the terms of our emotional landscape. This practice is not merely about controlling a situation, it is about reclaiming our very essence. Silence becomes a filter, a protective barrier that keeps our inner sanctum inviolate. It allows us to live on our own terms, unbowed by the capricious winds of others' judgments. I will not pretend that this path is an easy one. In my own journey, I too once equated silence with weakness, believing that every slight must be answered, every criticism countered. But as I grew in wisdom, I began to notice a curious phenomenon. Each time I responded to disrespect, I found myself drained, my spirit diminished. Yet when I chose silence, when I allowed provocations to pass by like clouds across the sky, I felt a curious lightness, a sense of strength and control that had previously eluded me. So I present to you this challenge. When next you face disrespect, pause, draw a deep breath, Meet the eyes of the one who would diminish you, not with anger or fear, but with the serene confidence of one who knows their own worth. The third teaching, the sovereignty of choice. In the book of Galatians, chapter 1, verse 10, we find a profound declaration. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. These words, penned by the Apostle Paul, speak to a fundamental truth that transcends time and culture: the sovereignty of our choices and the folly of seeking constant validation from others. In our journey through life, we are often beset by those who would question our every decision as though our choices were subject to their approval. They inquire with fervor, "Why did you choose this path? Why did you decline that opportunity? Why have you embarked on this venture?" It is as though they believe themselves entitled to an accounting of our every action. But I say to you, with the wisdom born of years and the conviction born of experience, you owe no explanation for the choices that shape your life's journey. Consider, if you will, the majestic oak. Does it explain to the forest why it grows tall and strong? Does the eagle justify its flight to the creatures of the earth? Nay, they simply are, existing in the fullness of their nature without apology or explanation. So too should you stand firm in the decisions that define your path. When others question your choices, understand that their inquiries often stem not from a desire for understanding, but from a need to judge, to cast doubt, or to assuage their own insecurities. Your willingness to chart your own course may unsettle those who find comfort in conformity. Your boldness may challenge their complacency, but their discomfort is not your burden to bear. I am reminded of a pivotal moment in my own journey. When I chose to leave the safety of a well-trodden path for the uncertainty of a calling that stirred my soul, the chorus of questions was deafening. "Why abandon security?" they asked. "How will you succeed?" they demanded. At first, I found myself constructing elaborate justifications, as though I needed to convince not just them, but myself of the wisdom of my choice. But then, in a moment of clarity, I realized the futility of these explanations. I began to respond simply, "Because this is the path I have chosen." The silence that followed was profound. In that silence, I found strength. I had reclaimed my autonomy, asserting that my life's direction was not subject to committee approval. There is a liberating power in this approach. When you cease to explain your every decision, you free yourself from the shackles of others' expectations. You affirm that your choices are valid by virtue of being yours. This is not arrogance, but rather a deep acknowledgement of your own agency and wisdom. Consider the truly great figures of history. Did they pause at every turn to justify their actions to the masses? Nay, they move forward with conviction, guided by their inner compass. Your life, though perhaps not writ large in the annals of history, is no less worthy of such self-assured navigation. I challenge you then to embrace this truth. When next you are questioned about a choice you've made, resist the urge to unfurl a tapestry of explanations. Instead, respond with quiet confidence. This is the path I have chosen. Let the power of your conviction speak louder than any justification ever could. In doing so, you will find a newfound strength within yourself. You will discover that your decisions gain power not from the approval of others, but from your own unwavering belief in them. This is the essence of true autonomy, to live according to your own lights, unbowed by the winds of others' opinions. Remember, the life you lead is your own grand narrative. You are both the author and the protagonist. While others may observe and comment, only you have the right and the responsibility to determine its course. Stand firm in this knowledge, and you will find that the questioning voices gradually fade, replaced by a profound respect for your self-assured journey through life. The fourth teaching, the wisdom of distance. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 20, we find a profound truth. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. These words, penned by the wise King Solomon, speak to the transformative power of our associations and the wisdom of choosing our company carefully. In the tapestry of human relationships, we often find ourselves entangled with those who fail to accord us the respect we deserve. It is in these moments that we must heed the ancient wisdom and consider the virtue of distance. This teaching may seem harsh, perhaps even cold, but it carries within it a profound truth. Not every soul that crosses our path is destined for a place of prominence in our lives. To keep one's distance is not an act of malice or dramaturgy, but rather a testament to self-respect and an acknowledgement of one's own worth. It is a recognition that our energy, our time, and our spirit are precious resources, not to be squandered on those who would diminish us. Imagine, if you will, your life as a grand theater. Not every person deserves a seat in the front row witnessing your most intimate performances. Some, by their actions and words, have forfeited that privilege. To relegate them to the balcony or even outside the theater entirely is not an act of cruelty, but one of self-preservation. The preservation of being alive has value. Take that into account when you decide whether to join your community or run for the void. Balancing self-preservation. Consider the gardener who tends his plot with care. Does he not remove the weeds that would choke his prized blooms? Does he not prune away the dead branches to allow for new growth? So too must we tend the garden of our relationships, carefully cultivating those connections that nourish us and distancing ourselves from those that would deplete us. I am reminded of a time in my own journey when I found myself in the company of one whose words were a constant source of derision. Every choice, every aspiration was met with subtle mockery or outright criticism. At first, I sought to weather this storm, believing that patience and understanding would eventually win the day. But as time passed, I found my spirit growing weary, my confidence eroding under this constant assault. It was then that I chose to embrace the wisdom of distance, not with grand declarations or confrontations, but with a quiet, deliberate step back. I began to limit my interactions, to create space between myself and this source of negativity, and in that space I found clarity. I saw with unclouded eyes the toll this relationship had taken on my spirit. Some may caution that such distancing is selfish, that it betrays the bonds of family or long-standing friendship. But I say to you, with the conviction born of experience and the wisdom gleaned from ages past, that there is no selfishness in self-preservation. You are not placed upon this earth to be a vessel for another's negativity, nor are you obligated to remain in the path of those who would diminish your light. In creating this distance, you are not only protecting yourself, but also sending a powerful message. You are declaring without words that your well-being is paramount, that your spirit is not to be trifled with. This is not mere self-care, my friends, but a profound act of self-respect. Moreover, this space you create allows for growth and renewal. It provides room for nurturing relationships that truly uplift and inspire you. For as surely as negative associations can drain us, positive ones can fill us with vigor and purpose. I challenge you then to examine the tapestry of your relationships. Identify those threads that fray and weaken the whole. Have the courage to loosen these threads, to create space between yourself and those who consistently fail to honor your worth. This is not about severing ties completely, but about adjusting the proximity of those who have shown themselves unworthy of your inner circle. Remember, the company you keep shapes the person you become. By choosing to distance yourself from those who disrespect you, you are not just avoiding negativity. You are actively creating space for positivity, growth, and self-respect to flourish. In this act of distancing, you may find a new kind of freedom, a lightness of spirit, a clarity of mind, and a renewed sense of self. For in protecting your peace, you are not being selfish. You are honoring the divine spark within you, nurturing it so that it may shine all the brighter. The fifth teaching, the strength of dignity. In the book of Psalms, chapter 3, verse 3, we find these words of comfort and strength. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. This verse reminds us of the divine dignity bestowed upon each of us, a dignity that no earthly disrespect can diminish. In the face of disrespect, we are called to embody this truth, to hold our heads high, not out of pride or defiance, but as a testament to our inherent worth. This teaching, though it may seem simple, carries within it a profound power to transform how we navigate a world that may not always recognize our value. When we stand tall, shoulders back, and gaze steady, we communicate without words the unshakable knowledge of who we are. This posture of dignity is not merely physical. It is a reflection of our inner conviction, a silent declaration that we will not be diminished by the words or actions of others. Consider, if you will, the mighty oak tree. It does not shrink in the face of winds or storms. It stands tall, roots deep, branches reaching towards the heavens. So too must we stand in the face of disrespect, rooted in our self-worth, reaching ever upward. I am reminded of a time when I found myself the target of persistent disrespect. Each encounter left me feeling smaller, as though the very essence of who I was could be eroded by another's words. But then, in a moment of clarity, I realized the power I held within myself. I chose to stand tall, to meet each barb with a steady gaze and an unwavering spirit. And in doing so, I discovered that the power of disrespect lies not in the words spoken, but in how we receive them. This act of holding one's head high is not one of aggression or retaliation. Rather, it is a quiet affirmation of our own value, a refusal to let the opinions of others define us. It is in its essence an act of radical self-respect. As we conclude our reflections on handling disrespect, let us remember that life's journey is too precious to be spent in constant pursuit of approval from those who cannot see our worth. We are not called to shrink ourselves to fit the expectations of others, but to stand tall in the fullness of who we are. The path of self-respect is not always easy. There will be those who seek to test our resolve, to question our choices, to bring us low. But in these moments, we must return to the wellspring of our inner strength. We must remember that we alone have the power to decide what energy we allow into our lives, what standards we set for how we are treated. As you go forth from this place, I challenge you to carry yourself with the dignity of one who knows their true worth. Let your posture reflect the strength within you. When faced with disrespect, stand tall, breathe deep, and meet it with the quiet confidence of one who is unshakable. Remember, dear friends, that the more we honor ourselves, the more we will attract those who recognize and celebrate our value. It is a beautiful truth that as we cultivate self-respect, we create a sanctuary within ourselves where the disrespect of others cannot take root. So hold your head high, embrace the power of silence when it serves you, and never apologize for protecting your peace. For in doing so, you are not just respecting yourself, you are honoring the divine spark within you, allowing it to shine ever brighter in this world. May you go forth with courage, with dignity, and with the unshakable knowledge of your own worth. And may you always remember that true respect, the kind that transforms and uplifts, begins with the respect you hold for yourself.